What is centrism? Is it good or bad? What does it mean? I would typically describe myself as a centrist, even though some of my positions may align with the left, some may be a little bit conservative. But in general, I think I want to be in the middle. How is this possible, and what does it mean to be a centrist? What are core positions of centrism? How is centrism defensible in the light of strong convictions that may not align with others in some areas? Certainly, centrism has been getting a bad reputation from all kinds of critics. To progressives and more committed leftists, a centrist position is thought to not be committed enough to the fight for emancipation and against the establishment. You're basically not revolutionary enough. To conservatives, centrists are betraying traditional values by being secret lefties. To libertarians, centrists are closet authoritarians by holding on to the legitimacy and principle of government and public administration. So to ideological extremists of all sides, centrists are simply traitors to any cause. Well, you know, if all sides disagree with you, maybe you're doing something right. We have seen the results of this in politics. In the United States, there used to be conservative Democrats and progressive Republicans who would agree on many things and be able to create workable compromises. Not anymore, it seems, or what I would rather suspect, because people are people, not anymore in public, because the atmosphere is too polarized due to a variety of factors, including social media and the way campaign funding heightens the impact of partisan interests. In European countries, traditional centrist-ish parties like Social Democrats, center-left, and Christian Democrats, center-right, are pushed by more ideologically committed parties from either the left or the right. If they move further to the center, they are perceived as sellouts. If they move further into their respective more ideological camps, they are perceived as too radical. In the end, it's the extremists who win. And if they win for too long, they can cement their beliefs and make future corrective changes more and more difficult. Now, if you're on the left and are against centrism, ironically, this strategy only works for right-wing parties. To be more concrete, either for the free market absolutists and radical libertarians, or more reactionary conservatives. The results have been Brexit, driven by isolationist, libertarian, and xenophobic lunacy, Orbán's Hungary, driven by xenophobia, revanchism, greed, and corruption, or in Germany, of the rise of the so-called alternative for Germany, a party that holds people who can legally be called fascists. Then you have in Poland the Law and Justice or Peace Party, although with a recent electoral setback. And in France, you have the evolving Le Pen movement. In Italy, you have various other nationalist movements. Most of all, we have Trumpism. All of them are movements more on the political right. The left, in contrast, does what the left does best: infighting and purity tests. As soon as any sort of left-wing government is formed, they get eviscerated by those who believe they are not left-wing enough. The critique is probably not wrong, but it misses the point that in order to govern, you have to represent, whether you like it or not, the whole country. In order to govern sustainably, you need to eventually secure re-election. This means that whatever you believe to be necessary and true needs to be communicated to wide swaths, not just of your own camp, but also to those of the opposition. You may be convinced, deeply and rightfully so, that a certain course of action is just, But if you cannot convince your opponents or those who are on the fence about an issue, all you will do is demonstrate your purity of heart and get nothing done. Here is where centrism sets in. Centrism is the belief that you can create a workable compromise that can move a country ahead in the needed direction by taking those with whom you may have originally been opposed to the change you're promoting, taking this with you, working with them, convincing them, or at least having them help you move in the direction. You compromise the purity of your convictions by creating a common cause with positions you might not find completely acceptable or agreeable, and they do the same. By meeting somewhere in the middle, so you can create common sense solutions, whatever that means. Common sense, by the way, does not automatically exist. It has to be shaped and created, and is the very definition of a compromise. Just as public opinion doesn't just exist, it is being shaped. Something that political science has learned for a long time. Now, there will be some occasions where such compromise will sound shallow or will be impossible. But remember, centrism cannot be an ideological position, or rather its ideology is the belief in democracy itself. Yeah, everything has ideology, but yeah, with that caveat. It is merely a belief that you need to figure out a way to work together. It is a methodology. Not always is the center position ideologically or ethically sound. There is no middle ground, for instance, on the question of racism, slavery, bigotry, etc. But by utilizing a centrist methodology, you may be able to forge ahead a path that creates sustainable change in the right direction. So centrism as a methodology does carry some inherent values, and I would suggest we focus on the following. First, the need for ongoing dialogue. Never close the channels of communication. Always end in a position where you still can talk to the other side, to the other person. Second, the need for ongoing criticism of positionality, but without ad hominem attacks, without attacks against people. We need to focus criticism on positions, not against people. Always allow others to change their mind. Always assume in humility that people have the power to change their mind, and realize that you yourself may have changed your mind too. Third, the need for civility so that dialogue and criticism can continue. Now, civility is sometimes misunderstood. All it means is it allows you to see each other as human beings and that you want to keep talking. Because that's what society means. We can't just eliminate people. And people who say that they can, oh boy. Fourth, the need for the protection of democracy, democratic processes, separation of powers, and checks and balances. Democracy doesn't mean that if one side wins, they can win forever and they make it impossible that no one else ever will come up that is against them. That's not what it means. Democracy cannot work without a separation of powers, without checks and balances, without the possibility of government changing. Fifth, the need for a public sphere that supports free but serious debate, with some rules that allow for prioritizing truth over lies. So we need to figure out how to remove fake news, incendiary comments, and to moderate dialogue. Free speech is something we should all believe in, absolutely. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't come with consequences if you violate decency, if you violate the truth. You shouldn't just, you should be allowed to say what you want to say, but then you have to live with the consequences. 6, the belief that human rights matter. 7, the belief that every individual matters, because this is the basis for democracy and dialogue. 8, the belief in the power of compromise. 9, the belief in the art of the possible. And 10, the need for humility in the face of reality, and an acknowledgement that nobody is perfect, that we are all searching for the truth, and that we all may have our positionalities and biases, but we'll have to come together in the end. So in conclusion, we all have our beliefs and convictions. It's okay. Some of them will change over time, as neither reality nor our perception of it are static. The centrist approach realizes that and pushes for nothing else than the need to get something done, as long as it moves us in a better direction. So you all know the saying, the perfect is the enemy of the good. If we only dig into our ideological camps, nothing will get done. Or worse, the extremists will win and undermine our democracy and prevent future change for the better to be possible at all. So if you believe in change, if you believe in change for the better, if you believe that some issues need to be solved, some issues need to be dealt with, then you need to figure out a way to make that happen. And this is exactly where centrism comes in. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Philip Kneis. This is Erratic Attempts, and see you soon.